if you've got myocarditis and you've presented with typical type symptoms after the vaccination, then I think we've got to assume that it's most likely due to the vaccine.
Welcome to a testament of courage and tenacity, the story of Tan Smith, a robust and health-conscious woman. Tan's life took a drastic turn following an adverse reaction to a Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Yet her struggle wasn't merely against the physical aftermath of the shot, but also against the dismissive attitudes and gaslighting from the very medical professionals she trusted for help. Despite the debilitating changes in her daily life, Tan has proved to be a force to reckon with. Now, armed with recordings of her doctor visits and calls, she unveils a system fraught with fear. Doctors too terrified of the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency AHPRA to link her injuries to the vaccine she received. So prepare yourself now for an eye-opening journey into a world that could be ours and for some sadly already is. Because tonight, Tan bears it all. Her pain, her suffering, and the undeniable proof she gathered along the way. Her journey, however, is far from complete. But with a spirit that refuses to be quelled, she now vows to fight until justice is finally served, or until she draws her last breath. Tan's battle isn't a solitary one. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands more, are in the same trenches, grappling with similar circumstances. The question that looms large is, when will all of this end? And what will it take for doctors to reclaim their roles as healers, free from the clutches of globalist organisations that are now policing our medical systems worldwide? The testimony you're about to hear is more than just Tan's story. This is a chronicle for the fight for medical freedom, a quest for the truth and the resilience of human spirit.
And thank you very much for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your life before the vaccine and what your daily activities and routine entailed?
So before the vaccine I was actually working at home as a team leader, remote work, so I really didn't need to take the vaccine, which I was pretty happy about because I don't do well with medication. And it felt too new to me at the time. I definitely didn't know what I know now back then. It just felt too quick, like I didn't have any trust in it, and I wasn't scared of COVID at all. Because I was working at home, I really didn't have to take it. Told my family I wasn't taking it. And I had pretty much... With working at home, I had left a stressful job, which, my health had been run down a little bit in that previous job. So I was trying to focus on bringing my health back. So I was cooking more healthy meals because I was at home, it was easier. I was walking 5Ks every day up around the headland, the ocean, at sunrise. It was nice. That was just a perfect start to my day. I wasn't super fit like a triathlete or anything, but I was fit enough and, just getting everything back to right again. So I was in a pretty good space. Then I think a few things happened and, I was grateful that I wasn't back in a retail store. And I was feeling pretty blessed because in Queensland we were pretty lucky and I thought I'd be able to get away with it. Did have some family pressure, some pressure from some friends saying you got to have it, it'll protect you. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to have it.
So what were your reasons for taking it initially when you did make that decision, and how has that changed your life since the initial adverse effects?
So my parents are in Victoria. I'm in Queensland, obviously, and Dad got sick and he had a few health issues over the time. And I was sort of worried I couldn't get down there, and he ended up in hospital. He had pneumonia and he's had a few heart issues prior as well. And I was starting to be a bit worried and thinking, they closed the borders. I was like, how am I going to get there if I need to go? And, Mum was saying, look, everything's fine for now and, it's all right. But then it got a bit worse and we didn't know. And I was just going to go, and I thought, well, if I have to go, I'll just drive the back roads. I'll just try and make my way through. Surely there's a way you can get through the border. I just don't want to take it for that. But I can't not go if I need to go. and Mum and Dad watch Koshi on Sunrise every morning. So, you know, trusted person in their lounge room. So, yeah, he was saying, don't have your unvaxxed family around. And I would think it was more towards Christmas by then as well. It was sort of coming up to Christmas. Because I had it in at the end of August. So that was, yeah, I think it was the 24th, or I always think is it the 24th or 25th of August. It was actually near my dad's birthday.
Oh, okay.
Mum was like, well, even if you come down, I can't let you see Dad, and you won't get into the hospital. Like, you have to be in the hospital, you have to be. And she said, and you might bring COVID and you might kill Dad. So not her fault, and her fault. She was brainwashed by Sunrise and media. I know that now, you know. So I actually thought, well, I'll just do a detox. I'll suck it up, I'll go and have it, and I'll just detox it out of my system. Like, I might be sick for a week, like the flu shot. I'll just do it. So I went and did it.
So the propaganda and coercion worked a real treat from the mainstream media and watching Koshi. What were your initial reactions, and when did they start taking place?
So at the clinic, as I was leaving, I didn't really notice. I felt tingly, that was all. So I went up to hand my card to the lady at the checkout part. And she said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I think so. I'm just a bit tingly. And like my arms were tingling, my hands were tingling. Went to hand the card and I said to her, oh, is that normal? Because my veins all started to protrude, like they were just really big. And it still happens sometimes now. My hands went red. I was starting to get red going up my arms. And she called the nurse over. And they got me to sit down, take my mask off, because I had it at the hospital clinic.
And what was going through your mind at this point when you were feeling all of this?
I didn't really know. Like, I was like, is this normal? Or like, I wasn't overly concerned. Like, it was just, they said to me, oh, it's fine. And she said to me, do you want to be here today? And I said, no, had it because I might need to go to see my dad. And she said, oh, you just got anxiety, go home. And I said, well, should you take my blood pressure or something, or check something? And she said, no, you've just got anxiety, go home, you'll be fine.
Anxiety is still something they should be treating very carefully, and they just sent you home.
Yeah, I hadn't really had anxiety. I mean, I had postnatal depression like 20 so years beforehand. And, you know, I didn't feel like I was stressed or anything. And I was sort of at the understanding of, well, maybe this is a normal reaction. And because I had the reaction to the flu shot all those years before, which actually just gave me the flu and made me sick like that, and it took me out for a week. So I guess I was expecting maybe something like that type of reaction, because as I said, don't do well with medication. Never have. I don't know why. It just doesn't agree with me. I've always done a more natural approach where I can. And yeah, I just didn't really think much of it. And by the time I got home, I had a super headache. Don't really remember driving home. I was just fuzzy, like really fuzzy. But when I got home, I texted Mum, explained everything, told her what happened, and texted my son and messaged a friend. And so I've got all that in the writing of what happened as well. And then, yeah, I went to bed. And woke up at 2 a.m.
And you said there was a telehealth appointment or phone call consultation that you had. Can you describe that?
Yeah, I called the 13 number on the COVID paper, because when I woke up at 2, I was completely red and completely swollen and itchy, like just felt terrible. Just didn't feel right at all. Like, I was burning, my head was aching, the back of my neck was really bad, like just felt like pain, just huge pain. So I called that number. They put me through to 13 Health, and she fired a heap of questions at me. And she kept saying, oh, what about your eyes and stuff, and what about this? And I said, I can't open my eyes, and she just wasn't even giving me a chance to like answer properly. I do have that recording.
Thank you for calling 13 Health. My name is Melissa. I'm a registered nurse. Can I please start this call with your last name? Smith.
And your first name?
Tanya, Tania.
And Tanya, a phone number if we get disconnected where I'd be able to call you back.
Sorry, my head's hurting. 04442020.
And how can I help you this morning?
Well, I had the vaccination yesterday, Pfizer.
Pfizer, yes. Was it your first or second?
First.
First, yep.
Yeah, my head's hurting like hell and my neck.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a bit of a red reaction before I left the thing yesterday, and then it went away, and then I got home and it just kept sort of, like I kept going red all over my body, and then it would settle back down again.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm sort of itching as well.
Okay.
I just didn't know if that's not normal or not.
Yeah, so can you see any lumps on you at all, or is it just itchy skin?
Oh, just itchy and hot.
Do you have any fever or temperature?
I don't know. I just got up, just had some Panadol, but my head, I get migraines anyway, but it's like the start of a migraine.
Sure. Are you going hot and cold?
A little bit.
Okay, so possibly the chills.
More hot than cold.
Mm-hmm. Any swelling of your tongue or throat making it difficult to swallow or breathe, or any chest tightness,
No.
coughing up blood, vision changes, blurred vision or loss of vision?
Oh, my eyes hurt, but my eyes actually feel a bit itchy as well.
Okay, so I asked about your vision, so any blurred vision or loss of vision?
I can't really, with a headache, I can't, it's just got, like, my eyes hurt anyway. I don't know whether it's from the headache or not.
So I'm not asking again about whether your eyes hurt. I'm asking about whether there's been any vision change.
I can't see. I don't know if you've ever had a migraine, but I can't, like, look. My eyes are shut right now while I'm talking to you.
Okay. All right, so your full street address, Tanya, so I can open up a chart and we'll run through an assessment.
Sorry?
Your full street address you're calling from.
Unit 1, number Kings Beach.
And your date of birth?
27th of the
1267. I can see it called before, so I'll just grab your chart. What do you normally take for your migraines?
Oh, Max Salt if it gets really bad.
And you haven't taken any of that yet?
No, I try Panadol first. It's normally just if I start vomiting, I have the Max Salt wafer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've got a history of migraine. Any medications that you do take every day for any medical conditions?
No.
Are you allergic to penicillin?
Yeah.
And have you returned from overseas or interstate in the last 3 weeks?
No.
And what time did the headache start?
I don't know. I just woke up with it, so probably during the night. I don't know.
So how long ago did you wake up?
Just a few minutes ago.
So what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, 20.
20 minutes.
Oh.
And you haven't seen a doctor, you've taken Panadol. How long, and you took the Panadol just recently? It hasn't had time to kick in yet?
Yeah, a few minutes ago.
Okay,
No.
so just taken...
I was going to go back to bed. I just didn't know whether to ring about the red bit.
And
it's gone. The red's gone again now. It just comes up and goes away.
And is this like, you said it feels like a previous migraine that you've had, the headache?
It feels like the start of a bad migraine, yeah.
Okay.
Back of my neck is just really hurting.
Okay, so...
I don't normally get that. I just normally get it in my head.
Did the headache come on suddenly, like someone that came up and struck you over the head with a baseball bat?
No.
And any neck stiffness, so can you look over your shoulders or down at your feet?
Yeah, it hurts.
Any red rash with purple centres or anything that looks like bruises?
No.
And does light really, really hurt your eyes?
Yep.
Have you actually passed out or lost consciousness at all?
No, I've been asleep.
Any new weakness or inability to move your arms or legs? Or new numbness in your arms or legs?
No.
Any slurred speech, difficulty finding the words?
No.
Have you been exposed to or inhaled any chemical, toxic fume or poison?
No.
Is this headache different to any other headache you've had, Tanya?
Only just about my neck.
So is it different, or is it like your previous headaches you've had?
Oh, it's pretty much like a headache, but my neck hurts.
So any pain or redness around your eyes?
No, my eyes feel itchy.
And is the headache a throbbing quality that's located behind your eyes or over your temples?
No, it's just my whole head.
Okay. Any fever or temperature, or do you feel feverish there at the moment?
I didn't take my temperature.
But have you got chills, or are you going hot and cold?
I'm more hot than cold.
Okay. Any conditions that decrease your immunity, like diabetes, HIV, lymphoma, cancer, organ transplant, missing a spleen, or
No.
chronic alcoholism?
No.
And have you got increased pain over your cheek or the forehead?
No.
And you've tried measures and they're not kicking in as yet.
No, I'll just go back to bed and see if it does. I was just worrying about the red bit. Am I supposed to be going red?
Well, it'd be more concerning. So the worst thing would be if you were coming out with, you came out with a rash, any swelling of your throat or your lips or your face, any part of your body swells up, that's more concerning. Or if you come out in large lumps. Normally, if you're going to have a major anaphylactic reaction to anything, it's going to happen within the first half an hour to 2 hours of coming in touch with whatever it is.
Yeah, it was 15 minutes after. It was just after I was checking out.
And so what, you just went red at that time?
Yeah, the lady as I was checking out asked me if I was okay, and I went, yeah, I just feel a bit tingly, and she said, oh, I'll just get the nurse, and then my hands just went red, and my arms, and then my veins on the back of my hands all swelled up.
Yeah.
But I just
And then what they do?
longer.
Is that what they did? They just got you to sit down for a bit longer?
Yeah, until it went away.
Okay, and then said you were right to go.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Certainly a doctor within the next 12 hours, if it doesn't improve, you can definitely take whatever you normally would for a strong migraine. We recommend regular Panadol and Nurofen after the vaccination, because you can certainly get generalised aches and pains and headache, really a normal reaction. But if it worsens in any way, Tanya, if it's just too painful for you, any, of course, chest pain, as I said, swelling anywhere of your body, difficulty breathing, please get to a doctor or hospital straight away. But otherwise, if you get no relief, definitely a GP tomorrow during the daylight hours within the next 12 hours, okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, all the best. You take care.
Bye.
She was just firing stuff at me, and I was just in no state. I probably should have called an ambulance. I didn't want to waste an ambulance. I didn't know if it was normal by that stage still. I thought maybe this is what happens. Like, I didn't know. Like, looking back, I should have probably done more, but I didn't know.
And how were you treated after that? Did you end up going to hospital?
No, she told me to go to my doctor within the next 12 hours. So I went the next morning. I called as soon as they opened to my regular doctor who I'd had for 15 years, GP. She said she couldn't believe that they let me go like that. They were quite shocked, but they got me straight in. So I think it was about 10 a.m. or something that I got myself together and went down there. I had to try and have a shower. I was like just in a world of pain, and I was by myself, so I drove myself. Just went there, and he said, he goes, oh my God, you've had an allergic reaction. And he was like waving his arms going like this, like he didn't know what to do. And he ended up giving me Phenergan. He did offer me a steroid shot, but I think that was a few appointments later when it just didn't ease off for like 5 weeks.
So the Phenergan didn't actually make a difference at this stage?
It made me sleep, took off a lot of the itching part, but I just felt terrible. Like I basically slept and slept. And I tried to go for a walk. I think it was 2 nights after. I tried to walk down the end of the street, which was down a hill, and I'd done that walk heaps of times. It's like 2 blocks down to the beach, and it was not like, it was getting on dark, like twilight, so it wasn't too hot, and I I walked down there and I was just trying to breathe and, you know, just be out in the fresh air. And it wasn't until I turned around to walk back home and I was like, I couldn't. It took me ages. Like, I'd take a few steps and I was just worn out. Like, I couldn't get back up the hill. It took me a long, long time. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, you know, maybe it'll just pass in a week. I still was a bit just, I suppose, naive or something. Didn't really know what was going on.
So at what point did it trigger to you that there was something going on and that this wasn't right?
When I kept going to the doctor and he just kept dismissing me. Like, my cesarean scar swelled up and it's 20, at that stage it was 27 years old. Like, what is this? Like, I've just not had any trouble with it. My lymph nodes were swollen, and every time I go to the doctor and say what was happening, he was just like, oh, it's just an allergic reaction, this is good, it means you've got a good immune system. And he just wouldn't even look at anything. And I was saying to him, but my lymph nodes, like, they're hurting, like, they're just so swollen, and he didn't even look.
So this was after several times of being dismissed already?
I kept going back because I just wasn't getting any better.
At what point did you decide to record consultations, and what was it that actually made you decide to make that decision to record?
So that was a lot later. So I didn't record anything with my trusted GP. He was trusted GP for 15 years because he knew I liked natural, and he basically would say, this is what's wrong, but you probably want to go and fix it yourself. So I'd say yes, and then I'd come back and double check, you know, what was going on. Thank you. So yeah, he knew that I didn't really like the medical route, but I was always worked with him for anything minor that I had, but I was hardly ever sick before. So yeah, I didn't record anything with him. Ended up just leaving there in tears for the last time because he kept saying that I had to have another shot. And he said, try AstraZeneca, try this, try that. Like, he offered me lots of different ones.
And which one was the one that you initially had? Pfizer. And he was offering you a cocktail, basically?
Saying, try something different. And I'm going, I don't want any more. Like, this has happened to me. I, address what's happened to me, you know. So, yeah, it was probably about 3 days after the vaccine when I had a chest pain. But I just left it. Like, it was just like one of the things that was happening to me at the time. There was a lot happening, but I just left it thinking it would go away. It didn't go away. So yeah, it was a little while later. So it was actually about I can't remember if it was the 3rd or the 7th of September that I was talking to a friend on WhatsApp, and she made me go to the hospital for the first time. And that's sort of when I really felt something was wrong, but I didn't start recording until later when I changed doctors and got specialist appointments. So the immunologist and cardiologist, I recorded all those. I actually recorded them after a phone conversation with the immunologist where she had told me to have the second vaccine in hospital with a crash cart so that they could resuscitate me because it was probably going to be worse the second time.
That's astounding. Can you describe that conversation? And you had that recorded?
Not on the phone call, I didn't know. It was when I went to her appointment, which was later in November, that I decided to record it because I had told a few people that she said I had to have the second one in hospital with a crash cart. And people weren't believing me. They were like, no, you've had a reaction. You shouldn't have another one, you know. They wouldn't say that and things. And I'm like, she said it to me. I've got to have an echocardiogram next week. I'm on the waiting list for a cardiologist. Yeah. She's recommended that I don't have the next shot till I see the cardiologist, unlike yourself and everyone else who's been pushing me to do it. So I'm not doing it. Like I said to you on the phone, I don't care. The whole excuse of having it in hospital so you can all resuscitate me, it's not good enough. Okay. It's not even close to right. I'm a person.
Yep. Okay. Has Dr. Avellino, so with the lymph nodes, have you had any in your neck or have you just had any?
She's done blood tests.
Yeah.
So
where have you had those done?
with her and with my first doctor, but she has compared my first blood tests with the ECGs and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why she thinks that there's something wrong.
Which
But my other doctor just said it's anxiety, it's not related to the vaccine, just have the next one, it's perfectly safe. He didn't even do anything. He didn't even report it until I asked him to give me an explanation into writing as to why he didn't report it.
Yep. Which pathology company have you had the blood tests done at?
Sullivan Nicolaides was the last one. The one before that was QML.
And have you got a booking for an echo?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Excellent.
I'm not even sure why I'm here because you already told me on the phone that you're not giving exemptions to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what I really need for my work.
Yeah. So where do you work?
I do sales now.
So what you told me on the phone is different from having chest pains and things like that. So you didn't, well...
Well, I told you everything then.
Yeah.
The same as I'm telling you now.
Yes. And so, but at the moment, so I've got the opportunity to look at what you've had done so far. So you didn't give me any opportunity.
No, I said to you on the phone, how can you diagnose me? How can you say you're not going to give me an exemption when you haven't even seen me? And you said you're not giving them to anybody.
Yep.
And you said you've given out a handful of temporary ones and nobody is getting a permanent one. And you told me if that's the way it is and to go to Brisbane if I didn't like it.
Yep. Okay. So
That was your exact words.
Okay. So if you don't want my opinion, you don't have to have it. That's fine. Dr. Avellino sounds like she's done, has got things in process for you to look to see whether this was a serious reaction to the Pfizer. And
It's a
that's
serious
great.
reaction from 15 minutes after I had it.
Okay.
Like, there's people dying from this thing. It's not even safe. It's not tested.
Okay.
The trials aren't even finished until another 2 years. And yet all of you are pushing people like me to have it again
Okay.
with no consideration for us
Okay.
or what we want.
So other than an exemption, what do you want from me today?
I want an exemption.
Okay. So I would be happy to give you a temporary exemption until the tests have been done.
Well, I'm not ever having it again. I don't care. I told you on the phone, I would rather be dead than put myself through this shit again. I'm sorry, but that is the truth.
Okay. So that's totally your choice. Okay. So that's totally your choice. Okay. So that's totally your choice. As I say, I can give you a temporary exemption if you would like one.
Why is it so hard to get an exemption for something that's not even tested? Why can't you just say, Tanya, I understand you've gone through all of this hell for 3 months.
Yep.
I understand that you are supposed to have your own informed choice about your own body.
Yep.
Here, have an exemption. Why do my thoughts and my feelings and what I've been through not count for anything?
So there's two things here. So you do have your own thoughts and your own feelings, and you do have choices. Okay? An exemption says that there is a specific medical reason for not having
There
the
is.
vaccine. Okay, so
Allergic reaction for starters.
yep. If you don't want to hear what I have to say,
I'm listening.
yeah, okay. So the allergic reactions, so there's questions, right? So on the day that you've had, so there are a lot of people who have some numbness and some tingling of their hands and feet. It's difficult to try and assess what that reaction was without being able to see you. And a random unannounced phone call from someone that I've never met and never seen is really not a fair or appropriate way for you to get my opinion. But you're here now, and what we need to do is try and assess what's going on. So with the allergic reactions to Pfizer, to date there is very good evidence overseas, and there is good evidence within our own patient group that those reactions are extremely unlikely to occur an allergic reaction is a very different reaction to the pericardial thing and is a different immune response. Okay, so they're not the same thing from an immune point of view, they're different things, and we need to consider them separately. The pericardial stuff is absolutely a problem with the Pfizer vaccine, and Dr. Avellino sounds like she's doing an excellent job of investigating that at the moment, and I agree with what she said, is that you do need an echo. I obviously don't have your ECG here because that's at her surgery. I can look up your blood tests and look for evidence of inflammation, and I can do a temporary exemption until things are sorted out. You can always make a choice whether to have another vaccine or not.
I'm never having it.
Yeah, so that, as I say, that's totally your choice.
Except if I don't want to go to a cafe and don't want to work, and then I can't get unemployment because of the way the government's mandating everything for people.
Yeah.
So what do I do?
So then you need to make a choice about what you want to do. But again, the government rules are not my rules.
Well, you work for the government.
I work.
You're taking the Medicare money today to see people and you've already decided no one's getting exemptions. That's what irritates me as well.
Okay. All right. I don't know how to resolve this, Tanya. I'm happy to give you a temporary exemption.
How long for?
I'm going to say for 3 months. And
so I can earn a wage for 3 more months. I'm by myself. I have raised a child. I have a perfect credit rating.
Yeah.
I've raised a very successful child by myself.
Yeah. And that's an awesome
And
job.
now what? At 54, I'm not allowed to have a job because I don't want to have an experimental second go at dying from a bloody jab that's not even safe. At least there are some doctors out there with a conscience that are standing up and saying, enough.
Okay.
Not everyone obviously is like that.
Yeah. So you're very welcome to go and find one of those doctors.
Well, they're deregistered because they're speaking out against it because they actually want to sleep at night. They care what they do to people.
Okay.
And some of you just don't even care what you do to people. You just want the money. Like, you've obviously seen a lot of people like me.
Yeah.
When is enough enough?
So, Tanya, this is a fruitless
Exactly.
conversation. So, I don't really...
It was fruitless before I came, wasn't it? Because you'd already made your mind up. Seriously.
Okay.
There's a special place in hell for people like you.
To me, because it wasn't only her either. The public health unit the lady at the public health unit said that too. The doctor, I think one of the doctors from the public health unit, he actually wrote a letter to my doctor telling me to address my anxiety around having my next vaccination, etc. It felt like a relentless push to get another one into me. And that's when I started thinking something's not right, like, why are they doing this? So yeah, I just wanted proof, and plus I was having a lot of trouble remembering stuff too, so I wanted to have everything documented for myself, and just because I had this feeling that something wasn't right. Yeah.
And this is all mainly taking place at the main Sunshine Coast Hospital, isn't it?
Most of my specialists, pretty much all my specialist appointments were at Sunshine Coast University Hospital, because I was in the public system.
And have you sought legal help at all with any of this?
Not legal as such. I am in the class action, but not independent legal. I did talk to a lawyer recently about some of the stuff that's happened, but they basically said they'll just fight it, it's pointless. It'll cost me more than it's worth. I would need a lawyer for the privacy and a lawyer for the slander stuff and a lawyer for the, there wouldn't just be one. It was, basically not worth it.
So how has the gaslighting and the refusal of help from your doctors really impacted you emotionally and mentally with all of this? Can we talk about the gaslighting that you've experienced?
Yeah, Well, I think just the fact there's no common sense. Like when they do gaslight us, and I say us because it's not just me. Like I have the evidence it's happened to me, but this is happening to all of us. Like there are thousands of us, and we talk, and we have our chat groups, and it's not just me. It's happening to everybody in the same way, and mentally, yeah, it's tough because. Somebody says to you, I'll have another vax, and you're like, no, I've had a reaction and I'm already sick from it. Like, why would I have another one? And that's common sense. And then they're saying to you, well, we'll just resuscitate you. Or like one doctor said, I said to her, I'd rather be dead than have another one. And she said, well, that's my choice. And like, I was just sitting there going, what? Like, you're a doctor.
Shocking bedside manner.
Yeah, it's just I can't get my head around it, and this happens to all of us, and they say, oh, we're going to do this test, and they say, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, and that there's something wrong with you because your previous life doesn't exist anymore and you're suffering all this stuff, and it's everything from your hair falling out to jumping of your limbs involuntarily, and then you've got blood stuff happening. Like at one point they thought I had leukemia because when I did finally get my next doctor, she did a lot more testing. She still didn't do all the testing she should have done, but she did a lot more testing, and she's like, I think you've got leukemia and we're going to check your cancer markers. And I was just sitting there going, what? Like, yeah.
And they're still denying that it was caused from the vaccine?
She was putting post-vaccination symptoms on a lot of my tests. So she was not admitting it but not denying it. And she did give me a temporary exemption until I saw a cardiologist because, I hadn't had any help until I got to her with the cardiology stuff. Like she did my first ECG, and that was at the small accident clinic at Caloundra because I was ignored at SKU. So I think we skipped that bit. But
no, that's all right. So how did that go with SKU?
So SKU, Sunshine Coast University Hospital. I did go in when the chest pain got really bad, and a friend basically made me go. So I was talking to her on WhatsApp video call. She was in the UK, so it was their daytime. It was quite late at our night. It was about 11:30 by the time I got to the hospital. She'd said to me, you have to go, you're swelling up, because my kidneys had started to shut down as well. Like I was just having trouble with, nothing was working. Like it's just like my whole body was not working.
So she was supporting you through messages and encouraging you to get this recognised.
Yeah, she's saying you have to go. She works in health over there, and she said you just got to go. And I'm going, no, it'll go away. And she goes, no, you got to go. You just got to go. You can't stay home like that. So yeah, I actually messaged her all through the time I was there. And yeah, I've got all those messages still. She was saying, have you told them everything, your chest, how you've been? And I was saying, yes, I've even told them my arm's gone numb. Because when I went in there, I was short of breath because I walked from the car park across the road, basically. So yeah, walked in, I was short of breath. I had chest pain, my arm was tingly and numb, like my left arm. My right arm was okay. And
it was your left arm that you had the injection?
No, I had it in the right.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
So, but I started to think I was having a stroke because it was on like left side, heart, etc.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really sure.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, my hands had started to swell up again. And then they were taking me in, and then the guy said, are you allergic to anything? And I said, yeah, penicillin. And then I went, and Pfizer, because my hands were like all weird. And then he goes, go and sit down. And they just made me sit down. And they left me there for about 3 hours.
So they weren't overly supportive at all with from the reception, the time of admission, and the ultimate care that you received was not overly supportive at all. If anything, it was dismissive.
Yeah, I didn't get any care. I went home after 3 hours. She took my blood pressure. I said that I couldn't sit up because I'd had Phenergan. So this was back in the first 5 weeks, the worst part. Like, it was only a week or so after the vax, so it was probably maybe about 10 days, I think, by the time I got to the hospital. I went up and said, I can't sit up anymore, I've had Panuka, and she said, oh, well, there's 8 more people in front of you, or 6 or 8 more people in front of you, and whoever else comes in. And I just said, look, I'm going to go home, I've got to have blood tests. And at that stage it was, I think it was about 2:30 a.m. or something in the morning, and I had to be at the blood test place because it was a fasting one, so I had to be there early. And I thought, I'm just going to go home. And so I just went home, and she said, I'll take your blood pressure before you go. And she said it's normal, but I found out later it wasn't. So I've got my RTI.
So she lied?
Well, it was elevated. Yeah. I can't remember the exact readings now. I've got it at home, but it was like 149 over 99 or something like that.
Yeah, goodness. Did you feel supported at all by any of the staff at SCU?
Not on that occasion, no. I felt dismissed, but I still didn't know why. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I've got severe chest pain, shouldn't they be doing something? And it's still at that point, like, I know now, but at that point I was just like, what's going on?
And did you have any support from family? How has this impacted your family? Have they acknowledged that this is a direct result of the vaccine, or are they sort of on the other side still? What's
Mum and Dad know. My son thinks it's just something that happened to me. Like, he's supportive of me, and he understands that it's happened to me. But as far as he, went and got his second one and things like that, which worried me because I was starting to be really scared by the time they went to get their second. Mum stopped having them. Dad kept going, but he was going through a lot of health stuff and had to be in hospitals as well, so again, a lot of coercion. But yeah, friends support. I have 1 or 2 friends that still support. Most of them disappeared because they can't handle the fact that they had it, and it didn't happen to them. So what's wrong with me, and what if there is something wrong with it? They have to look at themselves, I think, that sort of thing. But we have a really great community of other injured people that support. We all support each other because we're the only ones who actually know. Like, we're the only ones who know what it's like, which is really, really, really hard. Really hard, because mentally, to heal properly, you have to be in a good space, and I suppose with the right mindset. And when you get treated like this by the doctors, the hospitals, all the people that are supposed to help you when you're not well, it's hard. It's really hard.
How have you been dealing with the anger and the frustration from being dismissed by those professionals who are supposed to be there to help you? How do you cope with all of that?
I suppose, I am angry. I'm more sad than angry, I think. I think the anger was there at the start. But I don't know. I'm usually a calm person. I would like to see some people locked up, definitely. Now that I know what I know, because when you get treated like this, you start to look at stuff. And, I never thought in my life I would have to look at the people that are supposed to be looking after us,
because you trust them.
That's how you've been brought up, and it's, you trust the police, you trust the ambulance, you trust the doctors, you trust the government. That's how I was brought up. But they, did right. They trusted the government. And
so they were betrayed as well, ultimately. And How has this impacted with your friendship circle as well? Do you have a lot of social support from your old friendships, or?
Not so much now. No, more the newer ones. Yeah.
And what changes do you hope to see with the emotional support and help and resources out there? What would you like to see ultimately?
I just think people have to stand up, and it's good. You see some doctors that understand and that they're starting to see this happening to everyone, and they're waking up, I suppose, for want of a better word, trying to help us. They don't know how to help us a lot of the time. I have gone fully natural now. I still have my testing, I still check in with the medical side of things, but I've refused the medications, and I've found natural alternatives. So that's helped. I think I'm finally on a program that is helping a lot. But yeah, the old friends are gone. The new friends are the jab injured friends.
And what is it that keeps you motivated in this fight for justice? What is it that really keeps you going and gives you hope?
I think there's not a lot that gives me hope, but what keeps me going is the kids. Yeah, most of the injured people are young. There's a lot that are from 18 to 35. They were all super fit, and they're struggling and they're suffering, and their relationships breaking down, and some of them have really supportive people, which is great. I guess what does give me hope is that there is a lot more coming out now.
What message would you like to share with all of these others who are unaware but are experiencing similar adverse effects?
Yeah, I think gaslighting wise, I know a lot of people that didn't have an initial reaction, but now are having heart problems, and everyone's being told, oh, it's since you were a child and you've never noticed. I know people told that, or they go to hospital for something else and then they find out they've got a heart issue or a blood issue or something like that, and they actually believing that it's a coincidence. What would I like to say to them is just think and go with your gut, and did you have it before? What's changed? I guess open their eyes to have a look around.
And what does justice look like for you in the big picture and the long run?
Nothing's going to get my life back the way it was, I don't think. But yeah, people have to be held accountable, and I don't know, locked up, don't know. I don't know where will you begin. Do you begin with government, media? All these people, the celebrities that said go and get jabbed, or even the politicians, it's come out now they didn't even have to have it, and most of them didn't have it. They were exempt.
Good place to start right there, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because if they're exempt, then why weren't we exempt? That's definitely got to be the start. Why did they let this into the country when it was untested?
All valid questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions because, we pay their wages. They're supposed to build schools and roads and, look after infrastructure and stuff like that, and keep the country safe and keep the people safe. They're not supposed to force us to take something to cross a border in our own country to see someone we love.
That's right. It's the greatest medical tyranny in history.
Yeah. I feel like I was forced. And a lot of people say, well, no, you weren't forced, you had a choice. But when you're standing in a line waiting to get an injection you don't want, and your gut's going, don't do it, and your heart's going, what if I can't get to my parents? If that's not force, what is?
Could you emphasise on what was going through your mind and your heart at that time when you were faced with that decision in line, knowing that you desperately needed to see your father in hospital, and knowing that you didn't want that in your gut to take the vaccine?
I wanted to run. I nearly left a few times, but I guess I just thought, what if? What if he gets really sick and I can't get there? Like, this is a man who has been there for me my whole life, like through everything. This is one of the best dads and mums that you could ever wish for. Sorry. Yeah, how do you let them down? Like, yeah, I don't know, sorry.
What symptoms are you experiencing now, and how is it persisting, and how has the Ombudsman and professionals been treating you since that?
Okay, so symptoms, while I'm on detoxing, I am not too bad. I get sick more. I never really used to get sick. So I've had probably 3 bouts of just sickness that's wiped me, like flus, and just tired. I get really lethargic. I still work. Making it through a work week is hard, whereas I used to have heaps of energy. I can't walk anymore in the mornings. I have started some swimming last year, but I stopped that until I had the cardiac MRI, because just stuff going on with my chest. Mostly when I'm staying on the detox and having nothing that's inflammatory, doing okay. But I guess keeping that up in the supplement regime, it's financially draining. I found a good program and a great naturopath, but it's just constant. Like, every week I spend a couple $100 on stuff, plus things like acupunctures. Been doing the HOCAT saunas, the ozone saunas.
And that's been helping or making a difference?
It does help, but when you're paying, a couple $100 for treatments and a couple $100 for like supplements and other things and IVs and stuff like that, you have to just work out what you can do week per week. It's not sustainable. We have been just left financially and emotionally and medically to sort it out ourselves, basically.
Abandoned.
Pretty much.
Abused and abandoned.
Pretty much.
And how's the Ombudsman been working with you? What's been going on with that?
So I put my complaint into the Ombudsman after I worked out that it wasn't just me being treated like this. Just wanted to put it to them so they would investigate, thinking that they were an independent body. I couldn't attach everything onto my my initial application. I couldn't attach all of the evidence, so I emailed them after I submitted it and said that I needed to send more information. And anyway, no one emailed me back. So after about a week or two, I sent another email and I just said, hey, I've got some other information I need to send. Can you tell me where to send it? So they wrote back to me and said that there was nothing to investigate. So they said that APRA had been involved and that they weren't to go ahead with the investigation, that there was no fault found with anything that they looked at. The legislation changed, I think it was in 2001, I've got it in the emails, all of the documentation there, that APRA were to decide who the Ombudsman could investigate and who they couldn't investigate. So something to do with the actual legislation there. So
circular purposes between them.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Nowhere road.
And I asked how he could come to a conclusion on my case that nothing had happened when he hadn't even looked at the evidence that I had, which was pretty solid evidence. And he just said it was closed. And
that's evidence in itself.
Yeah, evidence of corruption, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's the independent body to investigate. So how, where do you go after that? After a few backwards and forwards, they just refused to reopen it. So then I went through RTI, right to privacy, or right to information, and I got the hospital and I got my files from the Ombudsman's investigation because I wanted to see what they had done to investigate, if anything, like until they were stopped by APRA. And I got my files from the doctors as well, through there. So basically, I found out more information through there, like that SKU had said that things like I was coughing the night I went in with chest pain, but they hadn't taken any COVID precautions, like, so all that come out in the RTI stuff. So I had more information. So I tried to put that in and they wouldn't reopen it. And when I got the RTI from the Ombudsman, they'd basically done nothing, and they redacted a heap of pages and said that it wasn't in the public's best interest to give me the pages. So I then went through the Privacy Commission to try and get those redacted pages. That took over 12 months, but they did release, I think it was 4 or 5 more pages to me, which was internal emails from the Ombudsman saying that I just had a vent and that they didn't need to open the case again because it was just me having a vent. So then I did have a vent, and they'd left all the email addresses on, which they should have redacted, but they didn't. They sent them to me. So I CC'd I think there was 4 girls in the office about how pathetic it was, that's how they decided if a case should be reopened and stuff resubmitted. It's just 4 of them going, no, she's just having an event. And I wrote a lot of stuff, and I took a lot of things off their website and pasted it and sent it to them. And this other lady then apologised to me in email as well. And so I had about 2 or 3 emails backwards and forwards to her too, and they again refused to reopen everything. And she said, oh, it's just done now, like, you know, we're not going to look at it. So yeah, again, just left abandoned with nothing there from the people that were supposed to help. Yeah.
And your story represents a lot of other people in the same boat who have been dismissed and experienced the gaslighting as well, when they know very well it's not all in their head and it's not anxiety. Their health was completely perfect prior to these injections. So you're definitely not alone. It's great that you do have that support network behind you.
Yeah, definitely not alone. There's thousands of us. They just hide us. Mainstream media doesn't cover it. There's lots on independent media, and you know, we're so thankful for you guys for getting our voice out there as well.
Why do you think mainstream media doesn't cover this? What is your initial thoughts and answers to that?
At first I was confused because I used to watch the news and used to watch The Project and all of those things, and I believed it, you know. Now I know it's all just scripted, and I think they're more about funding, and it's all controlled. It's controlled information.
Follow the money.
Yeah, the advertising, the big companies, it's all intertwined, and you know, that's been a real shock. Considering I was already over 50 when I learned this, you know.
Huge shock to the system, because we should be able to trust these people and these networks.
Yeah, even you know, Big Pharma. I mean, when I read that Eliquis blood thinner is made by Pfizer, and then I read, because that made me angry when my doctor prescribed that to me to get rid of my blood clotting, because I didn't have the D-dimer test until it's a bit over a year ago now, and found that I had blood clotting. So I had calcified ones because it hadn't been addressed, and that's why I had lots of internal organ pain, just pumping big sticky blood. But then he prescribed Eliquis to thin my blood, and I'm like, it's made by Pfizer, I'm not taking this.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I did some research. I just got online and I was like, Eliquis, Pfizer. And then there's all these news articles that Pfizer rushed to court in December 21 or 20 or 21 to secure their patent on that. And, you know, then you see stuff and you go, they say, oh, Pfizer knew this was going to do this. And you're like, well, that backs that up, because why would they rush to secure a patent on a blood thinner so no one else can make this product into a generic brand?
Doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't make any. It's again common sense. Common sense says, well, that's enough to tell me they did know.
So what was your thought process when it all dawned on you, all of this, and you realised the deception that you'd been under, that we'd all been under, really, for so many years? Some still are. What's your thought process been? It must feel like an ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, just more than that, I suppose. Like, we were made to have it, and they knew, and trying to get your mind around that's hard. It gets to the point where you got to just stop, and you can't look at stuff, because if you do, it's too much. And you've got to be in a calm, peaceful space to heal properly, and you've got to not be in that fight or flight mode all the time, for your body to heal. So yeah, you just have to switch off, because it's too overwhelming. It's like, this is, you hear people say, okay, it's a bioweapon and it's made to kill people, it's made to reduce population. Like, I don't think I can't really understand that. Like, as a human, you can't. How can you do that to people? How can you do that to pregnant women? How can you do that to children?
Absolutely no humanity in that.
There's not.
Whatever's behind that.
Yeah, I don't have the capacity to. I can't. I've tried to think, well, why is money worth that? Like, no. If somebody said to me, here's some money, we want you to do this. No. Like,
human morals and values.
Yeah,
that's right.
Like, I'll never. I can't get my head around that. I can't even get my head around being told to have another one with a crash cart. Like, you can't.
That's astounding that they've even put that to you, and the way that they've said that is unbelievable. Especially the part where you expressed very honestly that you would rather be dead.
Yeah.
And what was the response? Can you tell me again?
She said, that's my choice. She said, that's your choice, Tanya. Because I just didn't, I'd only come through at that stage, I'd come through the worst part, and I thought it was just the allergic reaction, I was going to be okay. I didn't know there was going to be all this ongoing stuff with the chest stuff. Like, I only found out that I'd previously had myocarditis earlier this year, because it took that long in the public system to get an appointment, or to get the appointments, to get in there, and then they took another 2 months to even tell me the results.
And they've
said, yeah, you had myocarditis. So I don't have any active myocarditis at the moment, because I've got the inflammation down using natural means, but they can tell that I had it previous. And then even my first cardiologist, he was a little bit better. He wrote some stuff in a roundabout way, that
the long way around.
Yeah, not directly, but basically wrote that it was possibly from the vaccine. But he also told me I didn't need an MRI, because there was nothing really wrong with my heart from the other tests. So on the last appointment, after they found out that I had myocarditis, they switched him out for a different cardiologist, who then told me that I've probably had it since a child, and it was probably from a cold as a child, and I've probably just not noticed. So I had 53 years of no symptoms, no chest pain, no shortness of breath.
To suddenly your health deteriorating.
3 days after the vax, chest pain, shortness of breath.
But it wasn't the vaccine, though.
Not the vaccine. It may be, but he can't pinpoint that it is that. It's possibly from a cold as a child, or from having COVID, which I had a year later.
The ultimate gaslighting and dismissive traits.
Yeah, he wrote it. He's put it in writing. And I'm like, this guy's a working cardiologist. And when he did say to me at the appointment, he said, I know you've been through a lot. He said, I will write what I can, because he knew, he knows. He couldn't even look me in the face when he was lying to me. I recorded the whole appointment. He said, I'll write it in the way I can that's the best within the law. And I said, you mean while keeping your job? And he said, yes. And that's actually on the recording too. So, yeah. So, I'm like, obviously his job's worth more than his patients. I don't know.
It's the wrong industry for that kind of person with lack of morals and values. and love for your patients.
Yeah, and again, that's a Sunshine Coast University Hospital cardiology. That was immunology. Like, I don't know, I think the whole hospital's corrupt, given the letters I've got from 2 of their head people.
So I take it you wouldn't recommend SKU to anybody?
No, and look, the staff are great. There is some really good staff there, I have to say that. I recently had to go back. I went there in tears. My son drove me while I was crying because pathology rang me and said, your D-dimer is 6.11, you have active clotting, you have to get straight to emergency. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. And yeah, my son drove me, and I was very upset because I had not been back there since they left me that night. And I didn't want to go back there, but I was like, am I going to die? I have to check out if I've got any major pulmonary embolisms or anything, because it's super high. 6.11 is ridiculous high. And look, that night, the staff were lovely. They were openly talking about vaccine injury. They were openly talking about, you know, what they've seen. They were openly talking about their own family members who were ill and who had died and how many funerals they'd been to. And I thought, wow, things have changed. Like, this was just the nurses, and you know, even the doctor I had that night was quite sympathetic and amazing. And I thought, great, there's hope. But yeah, the cardiologist a few weeks later sort of put that back into the no, there's not. The staff may know, and they may talk to some people, but the top people there are corrupt. Like, the letters they've written me saying there was no reaction at the clinic. I was there for a cough, not chest pain, you know, all of this stuff. They also said I abused the immunologist, not that she abused me.
Which you have proof against.
Yeah, I did tell her that there is a special place in hell for people like you as I walked out. But that was after she told me to go ahead and kill myself if I didn't want to take another vax and have a life, basically.
It's quite valid.
Keep working, yeah. I don't know what the appropriate response is to that. I still don't know. Is there an appropriate response?
I imagine there would be a lot of responses very similar, if not more high-strung. So
I thought,
you held it together.
I said it pretty calmly as I was walking out the door. You know, hindsight, I probably should have said a lot more.
You should be allowed to express that, though, as a patient who deserves the utmost care in this situation. You should be allowed to express that disappointment. So the gaslighting, just based on that, should really be emphasised on.
I think there is a special place in hell for her and the last cardiologist. I hope there is. There's got to be some justice for what these people are doing. There just has to be. And I don't know what that is. Do you lock them up? Do you take their licenses? I mean, APRA are silencing the doctors that are saying stuff, you know, but they're not doing anything about the doctors that are gaslighting. It's like they're protected. Like, I've had many emails to APRA about just, you know, doctors that have done wrong and why don't they do something. But it feels like they're protected. It does.